Hi guys! It's getting to the end of the year now, and I have read so far 54 books, 32 of which were manga, which leaves 22 novels. And of those novels, I wasn't super impressed with a lot of them. I read a lot of just okay books, and there weren't very many that actually stood out as being incredible, new favorites, amazing books that I think everyone should read. But there were a few of those, so I thought I would quickly go over the best books that I read in 2018. So the first book that I absolutely loved this year was actually a novella. It was A Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is part of the Kingkiller Chronicle, which contains Name of the Wind, which I have the 10-year anniversary edition right there. And a lot of people did not like this novella, partially because they're still waiting for the third book in the series, and again, 10 years. So it's been a while, but also a lot of people didn't like it just because of the style of writing. It's not a typical book at all. It doesn't really have a plot. It's mainly a character study, which means I'm automatically inclined to like it because, again, my love of characters and not so much of plot. But he disclaims at the beginning and the end of the book that it's not going to be a book for everyone. Not everyone is going to like it, but the few people who do like it are really going to like it, and I was one of those people who just really, really loved it. Ari is a really weird character. She's kind of mysterious and strange, and you don't really know much about her in the main trilogy. That's not a trilogy yet, but will be a trilogy at some point in the future, hopefully. But she was one of my favorite characters because she was just so weird, and I didn't know what was going on in her head, and I wanted to know, and I wanted to know how she spent her days, and that's exactly what this book was. It was so fascinating to get into her mind and see her thought processes for things, because some of the things she says and does don't make logical sense from the outside, but when it's being told from her perspective and you can see her thoughts and her decisions as she makes them, it somehow seems really logical what she's saying, and I don't know how he does that, but I'm putting it down to masterful writing because I could totally understand and relate to Ari even though she's just kind of crazy. She honestly doesn't really make much sense outside of her brain, but when you're inside it, you get it, you understand, and that was so cool. The writing was also really lyrical. I loved the prose. It was beautiful. The way that she thinks is very majestic, which is kind of weird, but also worked really well for her character. And she explores a lot of philosophy with this lyrical prose that just makes for beautiful writing. It reminded me a lot of my love for Shakespeare because I also really like his prose and his method of storytelling, and the way this book was written reminded me a lot of him. Despite not having a plot, I was still hooked on every page and I wanted to know what happened next. So I think it was a beautiful piece of writing, and I obviously gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, everything I mention in this video is going to be 5 out of 5 stars. That's why they're my favorite books of the year, but it was just so good. And I know not everyone's going to like it, but if you are someone who really likes fancy writing or looks into characters' minds and thought processes or daily life, because I'm always fascinated in people's daily life, people fictional and non-fictional, even if it's the most boring thing, I'm really fascinated by it. So if you're like me, then you would probably really like this. And the Kingkiller Chronicle series in general is just incredible. If you haven't read it already, you definitely need to. I absolutely love it. Like, this is a signed edition. I like it that much. But basically everyone who's a lover of fantasy already knows about it, and if you don't, I would highly recommend it because it's one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. And speaking of that, I discovered a new fantasy series that makes my top list of all time this year too, and that's the Mistborn Trilogy by Sanderson. I absolutely loved every second of this trilogy. It's about a group of thieves who are plotting to overthrow their government in a world of metal magic and eternal mists and ash falls with all-powerful rulers who are immortal, and it's so epic and it's just so good. There's so many things about this book that makes it absolutely incredible. The world is so lush and diverse with all of the people living in it and all of the dynamics. Even the ecosystem is like nailed down. It's incredible. The magic system is just as minutely developed as you could possibly make it. It's super sophisticated and just so interesting and amazing what people can do with this metal magic. And the fact that it has limitations but also still is so powerful, it just makes the story that much better. Instead of just having hand-wavy magic that just works with a spell that you say, this one actually has logistics and rules that up the stakes a little bit, and I loved it. The characters were so well done. I loved watching their interactions and also their development within themselves, because they're each flawed and individual and they have their own thoughts and their own beliefs and their own problems, and they come across these different conflicts, and the way that they approach them is all different, and it's really interesting to see how they deal with them and how they get over them. And even though I'm not usually a plot person, the plot in this was really good. It was very intense, constantly moving, something was always happening, which kept you on the edge of your seat and kind of stressed sometimes, but in a good way, kind of. It felt like there was constant motion in the book. The plot was always moving forward, the characters were always changing and growing and adapting, and it was such a joy to read. I just find it so incredible how this book can deal with so many relatable problems and yet still be this fantastical story with magic and powers and everything. I was literally in tears, sobbing at the end because I got so emotional. I was so attached to the characters. I did not want it to end. And I still don't. I kind of want to go back. It's such a good story, and I've made my family all read it, and they've all loved it too. And now Mistborn and the Kingkiller Chronicles both sit at the top somewhere of my favorite fantasy books of all time. Probably favorite books of all time. And the last book that I fell in love with this year was Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This is a YA contemporary story following a high school boy as he falls in love over anonymous email. And I'd say that this book is modern in a way that I haven't seen before, or if I have, it's done much better than anything I've seen before. It has electronics and relationships, which obviously now in our day when we have email and texting and Tinder, a lot of relationships are started electronically. It has great diversity, which we are unfortunately just now starting to emphasize more in the book community, so I really appreciated what this book had to offer. And just the fact that it exists helps to normalize non-hetero relationships, which needs more attention in media and needs to reach a wider range of people. So I really appreciated that. But even outside of all of these great attributes that this book has, the story is absolutely adorable. The romance is so cute. I loved reading the emails between them. It was definitely my favorite part, but it also goes into relationships with friends and family dynamics that are just as important and interesting to read about. I'm just so happy that this book not only has all of these incredible messages and provides great exposure for a lot of things that need to come into the public eye more, but that it also is just such a great story on its own. I flew through this book so quickly because I could not put it down. I was enjoying it far too much. It was so much fun and informative too, and just an enjoyable story and a really good book, and I highly recommend it, obviously. I'm just very grateful that it exists and that it's done so well. That's all of my favorite books that I read in 2018, and hopefully 2019 will be a little bit better because 3, technically 5 incredible books out of 22 is not a very good ratio. But speaking of 2019, I thought I would quickly go over my reading goals for 2019. I don't have very many. I'm mainly a mood reader, and a couple years ago I participated in the Around the World in 52 Books on Goodreads, and it was kind of stressful having to read specific books before the end of the year, which I wasn't always that interested in. It was really good for helping my diversity, but I wasn't really enjoying the books as much, and I think if I'm not in the right place when I start a book, I'm not going to like it as much as I possibly could have. So I'm not going to be doing that again. My main goal next year is to actually just read what I currently own, which as of right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 15 books. I definitely should have counted that beforehand. Oh well. I have 15 books on these shelves that I have not read yet. And my main problem is I keep going to the library and checking out books, and then I'm constantly reading those books instead of what I own because those have a due date and these don't. They're just sitting here. So I don't end up getting to these, and I just read library books and I keep checking out library books. So I want to not stop, but I want to slow it down so that I can get through the books that I have that have been sitting on my shelf for 2 years now, probably. And my other reading goal is to participate in more readathons. I really like readathons. I've only ever done the 24 and 48, maybe twice or 3 times, I can't remember now. But I've done that a couple times, and that's the only one I participated in, and it was really fun. And I want to get more involved in the community, and readathons are definitely a way to help me read a little bit more, because there are so many books that I want to read. There's about 350 books on my Goodreads TBR, and that doesn't even include sequels. So I have kind of a monster pile to get through, and I do want to get to it. I keep adding to it and not reading at the same pace that I'm adding, and I want to stop that. Actually, no I don't. I will add all of the books I want to read to my TBR, and I just want to start getting through it. That's the goal. So yeah, that was my best books of 2018 and my goals for 2019, and hopefully I will have more incredible books that I read next year. Let me know what book you're super excited to pick up in 2019. I think I will be buddy reading with my family the 5th season and the whole trilogy that I can't remember the name of by N.K. Jemisin. And I think I'm gonna really love it, and I'm super excited for it, and hopefully that'll make this list at the end of next year. We'll see. Bye.